Hello, everyone, and welcome to Short Hops with manager Kevin Hooper. Short Hops is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita Wingnuts skipper questions about baseball, the Wichita Wingnuts, sports, or just life in general. This week, we have some exciting questions for Kevin. We're going to find out a little bit about the roster moves that he's had going on lately. The team is making some serious transitions with the loss of Omar Bencomo and Dakota Watts. We're also going to learn a little information about what Kevin's going to provide for us in relation to little Kaiser Carlisle and the fund and donations that are going on to raise a memorial for his family. And we're going to find out a little more information about what's going on with the team and just about baseball in general. So let's get right to Short Hops. Okay, we want to welcome back manager Kevin Hooper this week. Kevin, before we begin into this week's program, I wanted to give you a few moments to talk about Kaiser Carlisle and what's going on in Wichita there.
Yeah, it's been obviously an emotional time for everybody in the NBC tournament. We had been gone the whole time, so really haven't been back into the city yet. And we got back yesterday, played our first game last night, and you could just see we got banners hung up everywhere at our stadium with KC and a heart around it, and just a very touching deal. I think a lot of people continue to talk about it around the area here, just how unfortunate of an accident it was. And what a wonderful kid he was. So, he's going to be somebody that obviously we're never going to forget. It happened in our stadium, so it touches home for us. And, our thoughts and prayers still continue to go out to everybody involved in it, not only his family, but all the BJ's players and families and everybody kind of involved in it. And I know that there's been quite a few fundraisers going on. I know a big one that they have is the Big Hits for Kaiser. It's BIGHITS, the number 4, KAISER. And if you just Google Kaiser Carlisle, I know some of the stuff pops up, and the first one that pops up is that Big Hits for Kaiser, and it looks like they've raised $120,000 so far. So anybody wanting to donate, obviously to the expenses for him, for their family, and other things, that'd be much appreciated by everyone. So if you want to look into that and feel free to make a donation or look into being helpful any way you can, it'd be much appreciated.
And Kevin and myself would like to also just ask that people remember the family, because I'm sure this is a very tough time for them.
Absolutely.
And their son this way. So.
Absolutely.
Well, with that in mind, no disrespect to Kaiser here at all, but we'd like to continue on with our program. And Kevin, if we could we discuss, you've had a lot of moves go on because of some acquisitions and people joining affiliate baseball. So first of all, I just wanted to talk about Dakota Watts and Omar Bencomo with you.
Yes, obviously 2 big pieces of our puzzle that got picked up. Go figure, we take a trip to Canada and go up north, and 2 of our guys get signed during that. So congrats to both of those guys, well deserved by both of those guys. They'll be dearly missed here, but we will definitely not forget about them and what they've done to help us win the ball games that we've won. So they've been a big part of this, as I mentioned, and I hope that they're going to be on their way to bigger and better things, and we wish them nothing but the best.
Now, does Daniel Bennett move into that closer's role for you right now, or is this still kind of an open process for you?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an open process. He's had the opportunities against the last 2 times out, and that's kind of the plan as of right now. He's probably going to get the most opportunities at it. But it kind of stinks. We're obviously looking for a guy because Benny's so valuable for me to use at any time, with his good sinker and slider going from that sidearm angle, that he's a big ground ball guy. And there's a lot of situations, 6th, 7th, 8th inning, where I could use him and not have to wait and rely on him to throw the 9th and not even be able to use him. So, it's just kind of a mix down there that we're using. We're trying to find some bodies to get us through this and help us out.
Eddie Medina, you signed on the road trip, and he has made 2 outstanding starts for you. Is he going to wind up staying with the team?
Yes, he made the trip back. The kid's been really good for us so far in the 2 starts, as you said. He'll get another go at it. Today is Monday. He'll be pitching tomorrow, the first game against Grand Prairie, so he'll be back on the hill tomorrow for us. And it's been a pleasant surprise so far, so hopefully he can keep that up and continue to help.
Heil and Gonzalez did not come back with you, so they were just people that you were using on the road trip, I would assume.
Yes, correct. We obviously ran into a jam with Luis Hernandez not being able to get across the border and some other things that happened. Harrison Kane hurt his hamstring. We had to send him back home. So it was crazy. It was a crazy trip. I'm still trying to catch up on some sleep, and it was a pretty hectic time. And to go 6-4 on those 10 games, I was pleased with just because of everything that we dealt with. So, Heil and Gonzalez got some playing time for that week, and we appreciate them and their willingness to put the uniform on. And we ended up trading Heil back to Ottawa where he was previously, and then Gonzalez we ended up just let go.
And where is the status with Harrison Kane at the moment then?
Harry should be able to be active tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be activating him again and re-signing him. And he's feeling a lot better. Took BP with us yesterday and looks like he's moving around well.
Luis Pardo and Taylor Smart did come back with you, I would assume, and so this is going to be a continual position on the roster for you?
Yeah, well, Pardo threw an inning out of relief. He came from that same league that Eddie was in, and they were up in that area, so we needed some guys close. And he threw an inning, and we liked what we saw. I tried to get him up yesterday to go into the game, and he tweaked something in his back or oblique, so the hits just keep coming for us, it seems. He had thrown a couple pitches and it was tight, and then he tried to throw another one, and that was it. So it was a mad scramble to get some DLs going up down there. And so we'll see. Well, that's obviously a concern because we're short down there anyway, so we'll see what happens there. But Taylor Smart, we just signed yesterday. He flew in Saturday, and yesterday was his first game at second base, and we definitely liked what we saw out of him.
I have to honestly say, Kevin, is that the job that you and Luke have done with your starting staff in particular has been nothing short of amazing. It seems like you're losing a guy. A guy will make a start or two, and then they're heading some other direction. Yeah. And that must be very hard to try to pull out a body every once in a while here to keep that rotation going.
Yeah, it's tough. We've got a lot of movement, obviously, as the guys get signed. The guy has had a ton of injuries this year. That the injury bug has hit us hard this year, but as I always say, you're never going to hear me make excuses. It's my job to replace those guys and find any help that we can. And for whatever reason, a guy like Eddie Medina comes in here and, guys end up coming here and we get the most out of them. And that's our job, is to do that and use all our connections to try to, you lose a piece of the puzzle, you got to find another piece. And we work hard at doing that. And we take a lot of pride in that. So, I don't like all the turnover that we've had. Obviously, that means something's going on, whether you're not executing and guys not doing their job, or guys are getting signed, or guys are getting injured. But I'm fine with the guys getting signed. Definitely don't like the injuries, and we want guys who can come in and contribute. And it's a work in progress. It always is, and it still is today. We're battling some stuff and some needs that we're looking at, and hopefully we can get this thing going back on track.
Do you think that you're going to have Charlie Lowell back into your rotation soon?
Well, I thought Charlie was going to join us in the bullpen coming back, and then we were in Quebec there Thursday. I got a phone call that he felt the pain again. So Charlie Lowell's career might be done. He might be hanging him up, and he's going to go get one more opinion at the doctor, and we'll just kind of see what they say and make a decision from there. So we get one more opinion at the doctor, and then we're going to sit down and talk about things, and he's going to make a decision on whether this is it or if there's an opportunity to, get back to it this season.
We hope Charlie's able to do that. Okay, so let's get to this week's questions. First, Kyle from Wichita points out, he says, it seems that every time you start to get the team rolling this season, you have a player who leaves. How hard is it to keep having to pull a rabbit out of your hat? Yeah,
I think that we just covered that a little bit previously. It's not easy. You use all your connections and try to find the best guys available. And it's nice that I guess I have a lot of connections and a lot of people that I can lean on and that I trust to help maybe find a guy and find a guy who's going to fit. So it's been tough. Like I said, I've been pretty wore out these last 2 weeks just with everything that's going on and being on the phone trying to find guys. It can be a chore at times with the things that happen and the things that happen in a hurry, like those two guys getting signed. But we do the best we can, and we've dealt with a lot of adversity this year, and that's never, in my mind, a bad thing. And like I said, you're never going to hear me make any excuses for it. We still got to do our job, whoever puts this uniform on, and I feel like whoever that is, we can continue to win, and we need to do so.
Somebody had asked you a couple weeks ago about more players becoming available just after the draft because, there's 50 whatever rounds, and then they start to fill out rosters. Does August become a tough time because rosters expand, or is this a good month? How does that help you? Is this a harder time or an easier time for you to try to find players?
I think it's a lot tougher because the affiliated teams have pretty much made all their releases they're going to make by for the year. So you're really not running into a whole lot of options there. The middle of the season it's a little easier because guys are making moves because of the draft, because of the trade deadline, and things that are going on with that. So it becomes a tougher time. But like I said, it is what it is. That's part of the business, is the injuries, guys getting signed, and that's what it's about. And we've got to continue to work hard to fill the needs anywhere we can.
Kurt from Wichita would like to know, when a team has so much turnover, is it harder to build cohesion with your batting order, with the pitching staff, or on the field with your defense?
I think everything's tough. Me being a middle infielder, I always want to be comfortable with my running mate, and Louie's been pretty steady at shortstop for us, and then, whoever's played seconds we've moved that around a little bit. So defensively it can be tough, just depending on position, I would say. Lineup's not too crazy. You're going to grab a bat and you're going to hit. I don't think that's that huge of a deal. Pitching staff can be an issue at times, too, just because of roles. Like a Daniel Bennett, like we were talking about earlier, here he is, who fills a lot of roles for us down in the bullpen, and now we're having to rely on him to close some games out. So it's tough at times, turning it over and seeing a lot of new faces and just getting that camaraderie. But like I said, they got to come in here and adapt and be ready to roll just like everybody else.
William from Butler would like to know what you think you need to do to hold off Joplin and Laredo to win the division.
We just got to continue winning. We got to continue finding ways to grind it out and win ball games. Yesterday we're up 5-1 after the first. And I felt like we had that thing right where we wanted it if we just went out and did our job. And unfortunately, we gave up 6 in the top of the 6th, and it just kind of went downhill in a hurry. We continued to battle offensively and try to make a run at it, but ended up being on the short end of things. And just got to continue to grind it out day in and day out. It's going to be a battle, especially with everything that we're dealing with. It's going to be a big time battle and a grind because there's some good ball clubs chasing us. But once again, it is what it is, and we got to battle through it and dig deep and find a way.
Tad from Wichita points out he sees that Middlestat and Espinoza both have 60 walks, and he wants to know, is that a talent that they just developed with age, or are these guys always been good on-base guys?
They've always been good on-base guys, and that's a reason they're wearing this uniform, is because of their on-base percentage and the walks that they draw and the good at-bats that they put together. So we continue, TJ struck out quite a bit. I mentioned it, I know, a couple of weeks ago. With the great eye that both of them have, it gets them into trouble at times with 2 strikes because they'll think a ball is a ball and it might very well be a ball, but the umpire, might think it's a strike and call it. So try and just, especially TJ, bear down on him with 2 strikes of just putting the ball in play, making contact, even fouling a tough pitch off here and there. But no, they've been like that for a long time. TJ led the league in walks last year and is continuing that same pace this year.
Malcolm points out it had to feel pretty good about going 6-4 out east, I would assume.
Yeah, it did. With all that we dealt with, no doubt. And anytime you go on that long trip, it's tough. I always talk about playing 500 on the road, especially during that trip. And once again, there was a couple games I felt like we gave away and could have even been better. But I was satisfied with the 6-4. We left for that trip in first place and came back in first place. So you can't ask for a whole lot more.
Oliver from Pittsburgh would like to know, how much longer are you allowed to make moves with your team before you are not allowed to make changes this season?
Our roster has to be set, the final roster, at midnight, August 28th. So we've got a little bit of time here. We've got about 20, today's the
18 days?
10th.
Yeah.
So we got about 18 days to get this thing right how we want. So and there's some things we're going to be doing. Offensively, I don't think it's any secret. It's been a big struggle for us at times this year. To be hitting 269 as a team, last I looked, I know before yesterday, I think we were at 269, and that was ninth in the league out of 13. I think that we're fortunate where we are because of our pitching. So we're going to look to maybe shake some things up here and try to, like I said, find the right pieces to make a run for this thing again.
Do they make any exceptions to that August 28th rule for a guy who's injured? Could you sign somebody to replace them, or you're locked in at that point?
Pretty much locked in. Now, if a guy got signed, then you could. So you're pretty much locked in. There aren't too many exemptions that they make for guys. It would have to be some kind of special deal that happened where they would allow you to get another guy.
Betty from Wichita would like to know, when you're up by a lot of runs, like 10, is there a point where you almost feel bad when you keep scoring?
No, I don't think that that's ever the case for any of us. We like to score as many runs as we can. I think that that's a situation, though, you don't run the score up. A guy on second base, you get a base hit, depending on the inning, you may not be sending a guy home. You're kind of going station to station at that time. It's kind of one of those unwritten rules, where you're not going to embarrass anybody. But you're also not going to take away from these guys' stats. This is how they make a living. And numbers are a big thing. That's what a lot of us go off of and look at. And like I said, you're not going to take a whole lot away from these guys.
I think sometimes fans forget that point of it, that it is a guy having 80 RBI is significantly different than having 70 to a lot of people. And so if you're denying a guy an ability to knock in a run, you're kind of hurting their reputation and their ability to succeed later on, I would assume.
That's exactly right, and I talk about it all the time. That's a tough spot as a manager because a lot of people are pretty sensitive in the game about, whether you're running things up or doing things the right or wrong way. And for me as a manager, we just play the game. We're just going to continue to play the game. It's not like we're going to stop playing the game because we're up 10 runs. Like I said, we're not going to embarrass anybody or run a score up or anything like that, but we're also not going to stop playing.
Jackie from El Dorado would like to know, do you get any kind of a break after the season over, or are you right back to work for 2016?
I got this question the other day also from a reporter, I believe. It's a full-time thing. I do try to get away from it for about a month, but that doesn't mean stuff's not going on. It's just not as rampant and as busy, I would say. I try to get away from it for a little bit for sure. And just kind of take a step back and breathe a little bit because it's a grind for me too, just like it is these players. With all the work that we put in and everything that we're doing. So it's always a grind, and there's times just like it was when I was a player that you gotta get away from it at times, and I try to do the best of my ability of doing that and taking some time away from it at the end of the year.
Harold from Wichita would like your opinion. He says he saw the moves that the Detroit Tigers made to be a bit puzzling. They said they were going to compete for the division, then trade away David Price, and then get rid of their GM. What do you think about the moves that they made?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I don't know what to think. I really don't. I don't know what to think of that. It's kind of puzzling. I'm Dave Dombrowski and myself go way back. He was one of the guys that drafted me with the Marlins, and then they all went over to Detroit. So got a long-time relationship with him. Al Avila, who took over, I've got a long-time relationship with also. They've been together for a long time. And then, like you said, with Price, here's a guy who's your horse, and you end up moving him. So once again, we always talk about the business side of things, and there's an example. I guess that they're moving on and looking to the future, and that's the business side of it sometimes. When you don't got a good feeling about what's going on and maybe don't like your chances, you're going to make a move that might help you in the future, and I think that that's what's happened.
I would think with Dave Dombrowski having 4 different teams that went to the World Series that he will get a job anytime he wants it, I would assume by this point.
I would think so too. I would think that there's a long list of teams that would want him and to be able to help their team out because, like I said, he's done a tremendous job in his career at what he does.
Shelley from Hutchinson would like to know from you. She says when she talks about her daughters playing softball, some people talk to her or treat her like this isn't really a sport, and would like to know if you encounter that as well.
I really don't. No, I've never really encountered somebody mentioning softball not being a sport. I don't understand that. If someone would say that, it's just in my mind, it's the girls' version of baseball, which is softball. So, no, I've never encountered that. I'm sorry that you did encounter that, but it's one of those things that maybe sometimes people talk about and you just kind of let go in one ear and out the other. So, because it's definitely a sport. It's a big women's sport. I mean, you look at the College World Series of softball, and that's a huge event year in and year out. And I don't want to take anything away from them girls as no one else should because, of course, it's not like MLB. I hear a lot of people talk about that. Girls going to play softball in college. There's really nothing they're going to play for. They're just going to play to win and hopefully get to the College World Series because after that, I know there's a small professional league, but it's nothing like Major League Baseball or anything like that. But to say it's not a sport, I definitely don't agree with that one bit.
I would say for Shelley that any person that would tell you something like that, ask them to go stand in the batter's box for some of those women in the College World Series. They'll learn quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. Go face Jenny Finch and let me know how that goes.
Okay. Andrea from Wichita would like to know, her husband is out on the road for his job a lot, and she would like to know if you have some suggestions on how to keep him more connected with the kids and their family.
It's a good question, Andrea, and I know we got one of these earlier in the year, I think, kind of similar question. It's just doing whatever you can. With technology these days, the FaceTime thing has been huge for me. I make a point to just sit down and chat with my kids every day when I'm on the road and just, it's kind of like I'm home, but I'm not. And I know it's only for 15, 30 minutes that I get to talk to them, but it's better than nothing. It's better for me than just even talking to them on the phone. I at least get to see their face. They get to see my face. And just doing anything you can possible to keep that connection. And I think FaceTime's arguably the best way, or Skype. I'm not a big tech-savvy guy, so I don't know a whole lot about all those things, but FaceTime works for me, and I think it would work for many, and, I just do my best to keep in contact and keep that relationship going because I am on the road a lot too during the summer.
Mike from Salina would like to know what you think of the Chiefs' chances in winning their division this season.
I'm a huge Chiefs fan, so I'm going to say the chances are very good. I'll be watching them every Sunday, that's for sure. So that's my team. Win, lose, or draw, good, bad. I'm not a front-running guy when it comes to football. The Chiefs have always been my team, and they always will be. Like I said, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll be a Chiefs fan, and I'm going to once again, I'm a big fan of Andy Reid. I was when he was in Philly, and I'm glad that he's over with the Chiefs now, and I'm hoping he can do great things while he's here.
Already doing great things, it looks like. So
yeah, absolutely.
Gotta like that. Kathy from Wichita would like to know, do Wingnuts players do appearances at charitable events? And if so, what kind of events do they appear at, and how does she go about asking for that?
Kathy, that's a great question. We absolutely do events. Our guys make appearances all the time at schools, hospitals, just kind of anything and everything. That would be a deal where you would just call the front office and speak to someone in the front office. Robert Slaughter would probably be the guy to speak to. He's our community relations guy. Or you can email him at robert@wichitawingnuts.com, and he should be able to give you any and all details you're looking for on what you're needing there. But absolutely, we try to get out in the community the best we can, and any opportunity we can, we do so.
I would assume, just for Kathy's benefit here, that the longer time that you give before the event, the better off it would be, I would assume.
Yes. I'm a very structured guy and organized, and we try to, obviously, the sooner the better if something's coming up, because we like to have as much time as we can to plan something on our end.
Sally would like to know if you've watched the Little League World Series at all.
I love the Little League World Series. This is always a fun time of year. We're actually in Canada for a week, so The TV up there is a little different. They have their version of ESPN, and it's not quite the same. So I haven't been watching any of it so far, but I will definitely now that we're back in the States. I will be bearing down on that any chance I get. I love, especially, I watch it the most when we're on the road because my kids aren't around. I'm always doing something when I'm at home. It seems before I have to go to the field, but when we're on the road, I get a lot of time during the day to just sit back and watch them, and I love doing so. That's one of my favorite times of the year. This is one of the best times of the year. It's you get the Little League World Series finishing out. This is our stretch run here. Football's about to start. It's just a fun time of year for everybody right now.
Plus school beginning too, so that's always kind of a
absolutely. I know my girls start Thursday. My girls start school Thursday. It's crazy that's on us already.
Wow, that is really early. Wow. Our last question for you is from Chet from Wichita, who would like to know what your favorite baseball movie of all time is.
That's a tough one. I don't know if I have one favorite. I have a lot of favorites. I'm a baseball guy, so I love baseball movies. For Love of the Game is one of my favorites. The Sandlot is a funny one. The Natural is always a one. Just to name three, I guess. Those are three that I really, really enjoy, and many others. You know, Field of Dreams when I was young was one of my favorite movies of all time, and we actually took a trip to Iowa to see the cornfield and the field and all that, and that was a pretty special time for me. And there's a lot of them out there that I really enjoy, and like I said, it's always fun when they intertwine baseball in a movie, and because I'll make sure that I check it out and watch it. But a big fan of baseball movies for sure.
Excellent. Well, Kevin, I know with 18 days left, you're going to have a lot of new news for us next week, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So thanks for your time, Kevin. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks as always, Robert. Take care. Have a good week.
You too. We want to thank manager Kevin Hooper for joining us on Short Hops this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnut skipper, please send them to us at askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askkevin@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have them to us by Friday at midnight so that the skipper has a couple of days to review them before we record our show on Monday. We look forward to seeing you next week. I'm sure that Kevin will have another group of transactions that he'd like to talk to us about as the trade deadline is closing in. Actually, the signing deadline is closing in, I should even say. So we look forward to seeing you next week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next week on